Your thermostat says 72 degrees. You walk into the bedroom and it feels like a basement. The air is heavy. The sheets feel a little damp when you sit down on the bed. Your skin feels sticky even though the room is cold. You're not imagining it. And here's the part that stings a little. Turning that thermostat down, which is exactly what you're about to do next, is going to make it worse. Higher bill, same damp house. Stick with me, because once you know which of three things is causing this, it's almost always a cheap fix. I spent 25 years in this trade, a lot of it standing in humid houses in July with a meter in my hand, while folks swore up and down the thing was cooling just fine. So I know exactly what this is, and more important, I know why the usual fix makes it worse. Here's what nobody explains. Your air conditioner has two jobs, not one. Job one is dropping the temperature. Job two is pulling the water out of the air, and they are not the same job. The temperature is the fast one. Pulling the water out takes time. So your house can be cold and soaking wet at the very same moment because the machine is nailing one job and flat out failing the other. Let me show you how that happens. Inside your system, there's a cold coil. When the warm, damp air from your house blows across it, the water in that air beads up on the cold metal, the same way a glass of ice water sweats on a hot day. That water drips down into a pan and runs out a drain line. And that is your AC pulling humidity out of your house, gallons of it on a bad day. But it only works once that coil has been cold and running a while. It takes a good 10-12 minutes of the unit running straight before the coil is cold enough and wet enough to actually carry water out of the house. Think about wiping up a spill with a paper towel. Drag it slow and it soaks the water right up. Wipe fast and all you've done is smear it around. Your AC is exactly the same. Run it long and steady, it wrings the air dry. Give it short, fast blasts, and it just shoves cold air over a coil that never got the chance to do job two. So the house ends up cold and still wet. And here's the important part, the part the rest of this hangs on. When your house feels cold and clammy, it comes down to one of three things. Either your AC is the problem, or something in your house is dumping in more water than any AC on Earth could keep up with, or it isn't really a humidity problem at all. It's one cold surface. I'm going to walk you through all three and the one cheap tool that tells you which one you've got. Every one of them has a fix, and most of them barely cost a thing. Quick thing before we get into it. Everything I know about this, the humidity, the sizing, the real price math, the exact questions to ask before you let anybody touch your system, it's all in one plain guide over at raydutton.com. It's there if you want it, no pressure. All right, back to it. So the very first move, before you touch a setting or call a soul, is to quit guessing. Go get yourself a little humidity meter, a hygrometer they call it, $10 or $15 at any hardware store, and set it in the room that feels the worst. Comfortable is somewhere between 40 and 55%. Once you're up over 60, that's a house that feels clammy, and it's right about where mold and dust mites start deciding they like your house better than you do. So if that meter reads high, now you know for a fact it's water. And this isn't something you just learn to live with. Give a damp house a few weeks and you start to smell it, that musty smell in the closets and the back rooms. Let it keep going and mold starts showing up on the walls and around the vents, and dust mites thrive in it, which is misery for anybody in the house with allergies or asthma. Push it long enough and the moisture warps wood floors and swells doors shut. So it's worth chasing down. And now it's time to find out which of the three you've got. We start with the machine. The first place to look, and it's behind more clammy houses than anything else, is the machine itself. A handful of things can knock out job two. The unit's too big, so it short cycles, cools fast, and quits before it dries anything. The fan's set wrong. The blower's moving air too fast across the coil, or the coil's starved from a packed filter or a low charge, or the drain's plugged solid. Let me hand you the fixes, cheapest first. Number 1, and it's the easiest thing in this whole video. Walk to your thermostat and look at the fan setting. If it says on, switch it to auto. Here's why that matters so much for this. On means the blower runs all the time, even after the cooling shuts off. And the second the cooling stops, that coil is still soaking wet. So the fan just keeps blowing your house air across a wet coil and pushes all that water right back into your rooms as vapor. You spend the whole cooling cycle pulling water out, and then the fan spends the off cycle putting it right back. Auto means the fan only runs when the unit's actually cooling, so that water gets to drip down the drain instead of blowing back at you. Costs nothing, and it can pull the damp down inside a day. Number 2, and this one's going to feel backwards, so stay with me. Stop turning the thermostat down. Nudge it up a degree or two instead. I know how that sounds when your skin feels sticky, but a warmer setting makes the unit run longer, gentler cycles, and longer cycles are exactly what pulls the water out. Crank it colder, and all you get is more of those short, cold blasts that dry nothing. Set it a touch warmer and let it run, and most people end up feeling drier at 74 than they did fighting it at 68. Real quick, if this is already making things click, hit subscribe, because this next one is the fix they'd rather you never even heard about. Number 3 is the big one, the fix almost nobody ever gets offered. If your unit's oversized, or it's just moving too much air, a technician can slow your blower down. Every system is set to push a certain amount of air across that coil, and most of them get set on the high side. Slow that air down a notch, and the coil runs colder, and a colder coil pulls a lot more water out of your house. Same unit, no replacement. It's about a 15-minute adjustment behind a panel. Now, one important thing so this gets done right. This one you don't do yourself. You have your tech do it, because setting it too low freezes the coil into a solid block of ice, and it takes real gauges to land it in the safe spot. So you tell them your house is humid, and you want them to check the airflow and bring the fan speed down toward the low end for better moisture removal, but not so far it starves the coil. Have them check the static pressure first. That's the reading that tells them how far they can safely go. Any good tech will know exactly what you mean. And here's the receipts part. That adjustment should have been part of setting your system up right in the first place. It's cheap, it's quick, and it's the last thing a lot of companies want to reach for because there's a whole lot more money in selling you a dehumidifier you might not need, or a brand new system. And it gets worse the fancier your system is. Those high-efficiency units with the big coils are the ones most likely to run clammy on standard airflow. So the nicer the system you paid for, the more it needs this. After those 3, the cheap cleanup. Fresh filter if yours is gray and packed so the system can breathe. Make sure furniture and rugs aren't sitting on top of your vents and return grills. And if you're seeing water or catching a musty smell, your drain line's likely plugged, and I've got a whole video on clearing that yourself. Get the airflow right first, though, because that's the part that fixes the humidity. Now, second thing, sometimes you do all of that, the meter's still high, and it genuinely isn't the AC's fault. Something in the house is pouring in more water than any unit could ever keep up with. Some of that water you're putting in yourself, and you can cut it for nothing. When you shower, run the bathroom fan and leave it going a good 10 or 15 minutes after you're done. When you cook, run the fan over the stove, and make sure your clothes dryer actually vents outside, not into the garage or a crawl space, because a dryer dumps an enormous amount of water into the air. On a hot, sticky day, keep the windows shut. Cracking them open feels right, but all you're doing is letting the wet outdoor air pour in for your AC to fight. Then there's the water the house pulls in on its own. The big one I ran into over and over is leaky ducts in a hot attic or crawl space. Your cool air runs through those ducts, and if they've got gaps, the system pulls that hot, wet outside air straight into your house every single time it runs. No thermostat setting on earth fixes that. Same story with a damp basement or a dirt crawl space breathing moisture up into your floors. So seal up what you can. Getting those attic and crawl space ducts sealed is real money saved and real humidity gone. And laying a plastic vapor barrier over bare dirt in a crawl space shuts down a source that runs all day. And this is the spot where a dehumidifier stops being a scam and becomes the right tool. If you've cut the water you're adding, sealed things up, and the meter still won't come down, a dehumidifier does the one job here the AC can't keep up with. A portable one for a single room or a basement runs a couple $100. A whole house one, tied right into your ductwork, runs somewhere around $1,500 to $2,500 put in. That's real money, but it's honest money, and it's a fraction of what a new system costs. You buy it when the meter says you need it, not because somebody standing in your kitchen said so. Third one, and this catches the folks the first two miss. Sometimes the whole house reads just fine on the meter, 45, 50%, but one room or one corner or the windows feel wet and clammy anyway. That's usually not a humidity problem at all. That's a cold surface. Every surface has a temperature, and if a spot gets cold enough, the moisture in the air condenses right onto it, the same as your bathroom mirror fogging up after a shower. A single-pane window, an uninsulated outside corner, a wall behind a big piece of furniture where no air ever moves, those spots run cold, drop below what we call the dew point, and start to sweat. So you get one clammy room while the rest of the house feels fine. A dehumidifier won't touch this one because the air's already dry enough. The fix is the cold spot itself. A better window covering, insulation or air sealing on that corner, and pull the furniture a couple inches off the outside wall so air can move behind it. Warm the surface up and the sweating stops. So now you know it's one of three things, and you know the fix for each. Before I let you go, hold on to this part because this is where the money gets taken. When somebody comes out, do not let them sell you a refrigerant recharge before anybody has measured a single thing, because low refrigerant is not what makes a house humid, and that's a bill you'll be paying again next summer. And do not let them talk you into an $8,000 to $12,000 new system to fix a humidity problem, because most of the time an oversized system is what caused it. If a unit truly does need replacing anyway, the fix for oversizing is a real sizing calculation done on your actual house, and you make them put that in writing before you sign a thing. And in a wet climate, the honest upgrade is a variable speed unit, the kind that runs long and slow on purpose and pulls far more water out than an oversized one ever could. You choose that with the meter in your hand, not because a salesman put you in a panic. And your guy who told you the house is just humid and you need more cooling, he's probably not lying to you. He was trained to read the temperature on the wall, hit that number, and move on. Runtime and humidity were never really the job. So more cooling, honestly, sounds right to him. But you've got the meter now, and you can see the one thing he was never taught to look at. Meter first, cheap fixes second, blower and ceiling third, checkbook dead last. So let's tie it up. A cold house and a comfortable house are two different things, and that number on your wall only tells you half the story. If it feels cold and clammy, it's the water, not the temperature, and turning it down is the worst first move you can make. Hang a cheap meter and get your real number. Then work the three. Is it the AC, so fan to auto, a touch warmer, and get that blower checked? Is your house pulling in water? So cut what you're adding, seal it up, and let a dehumidifier finish the job. Or is it one cold surface? So warm that spot up. One of those three is your answer, and most of them don't cost much at all. Tonight, go read the humidity in your bedroom and put your hand near a vent while the unit's running. Your house has been telling you this the whole time. And drop me a comment with what your meter reads and how big your unit is. I read every one. I'm Ray Dutton. Keep your cool, and I'll see you in the next one.